Hi YouTube! So, as you might be able to tell, I am out of basic. And, long story short, I actually got home last week. And the reason for that is a couple weeks into basic training, I was actually diagnosed with a heart condition and I got medically discharged from the Air Force. So, I'm sure you guys have lots of questions about that. I'm going to try to answer as many questions as I think you might have from that situation. So basically, basic wasn't bad. I actually was really enjoying it. I thought I was doing pretty well. I was told that I was doing really well. I was a guidon bearer, and I was on pad crew, and like those were like my jobs. I was almost made a chow runner, but like my first 3 days of basic training, I lost like a ton of weight. And they were like, you can't be a chow runner, you need extra time to eat, blah, blah, blah. I was actually really scared that they were going to put me in something called med hold right then and there. But they didn't, so I was like really happy about that. Then basically a couple weeks passed and I thought I was doing pretty good. It was stressful, but it wasn't that bad. Like basic isn't that bad. It's not that serious as long as you know like the yelling isn't like, it's not even at you half the time. Half the time it's like they're only saying trainee, like blah, 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 so that everyone knows that you're messing up. But it's not just to say that you're messing up, it's so that they know to not do that either. So it's like a learning experience basically, and it's not that big of a deal. Showering with 40 other girls, that was an experience in itself. Not really bad. One funny thing is, since I like to sing, they always had me sing and they called me their jukebox, so that was kind of fun. But what had happened was I was running on a run day, and I felt like I couldn't breathe for some reason. Like I put my hand on my chest for like 1 second, and they were like, "Trainee, you're going to read," and I was like, yeah, I've heard a lot of scary things about read. And the thing is like people always say like, don't go to read, blah, 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 because you'll get put in med hold. That's not true. I've seen plenty of people go to read and they didn't get put in med hold. Like someone actually like seriously like sprained their foot or something or their ankle, and they didn't get sent to med hold. And another person, like one of the first couple of days, one of the people in my flight, actually she got really sick because she was extremely dehydrated. And I heard a rumor that if you like go to read for like having dehydration, that you'll get sent home. But she didn't, so there was that. And oh man, what else? I saw a ton of people go to read. Like one kid had pneumonia and he didn't get sent. He didn't get sent to read. I mean, he did get sent to read, but he didn't go to med hold. So that's not true. If you have a problem, go to read. But in my case, basically what had happened is I was out of breath, put my hand on my chest, and they take heart things like super duper seriously because apparently someone like died on the track. Like there's like a square on the track where you're running, where some kid actually died because he had some heart thing that they just, I don't know what happened with that really, but apparently they take things super seriously now because of that. So they sent me to read, and they did a ton of tests. They did an asthma test where like I had to like blow like super duper hard into like this like measuring system to see if I could like produce enough air for it. I don't know what that was called, but I was fine on that. Then they checked my blood to see if I was anemic, because apparently that's another thing. Like you'll see people with a white armband. That means that they have like a sickle cell anemia or another type of anemia. They're just anemic in some way, or you get heat exhaustion, or something else with your blood. That's usually what the white band means. And then what else did they do? They did a chest X-ray, and that came back completely fine. And then the last test they did was an EKG, and it actually looked totally normal, except I had something called bradycardia, which that means that I have a slow heart rate. And at first they were not going to send me to med hold, but after a couple of days they were like, you know what, just to be safe, we're going to send you to med hold so that you can get seen by a cardiologist. So like that night I was supposed to go to med hold, and I cried. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to leave. And I had to pack up all my stuff, and they actually ended up saying that I couldn't leave for med hold until the next day. So I got one last meal with my flight, and I got to spend one last night with my flight before I got sent off to Medhold. So the next morning I got up and I went to Medhold, and that was kind of scary at first. I didn't know what to expect, and I got a blue armband, and the blue armband means you're in Medhold. And then basically I got put in a dorm, and I had to wait weeks and weeks and weeks before I got seen by a cardiologist. And the first thing that they did was an echo, and that is like an ultrasound for your heart. And they didn't tell me how that went. They said that I would get the results for that like later on, because it was just like a technician that did it. My hair's a mess. So basically there was that, but during that she also noticed that I had like a super slow heart rate, and I was like, yeah, they told me about that at Reed. And she said, okay. So she didn't really make a note of that because I already knew about it. It wasn't like she just found it or anything, but it was pretty slow. So basically another couple weeks passed, and I had to do a stress test, and that was kind of crazy. They like stuck, it was basically like an EKG, but like while I was running on a treadmill. So they like hooked it all up on me, and they kept checking my blood pressure too while I was running, and they had to get me up to like a certain level, and then I was able to stop. And it wasn't that bad. I was actually really excited because the entire time I was in Medhold, I was on this thing called a dead man's waiver, and the dead man's waiver basically means that you can't do like anything. You can't pick anything up, you can't run, you can't do push-ups, you can't even stand for more than 20 minutes at a time. You had to do sitting details only. Like, I could ride the bus everywhere. I was technically supposed to be using an elevator, but my dorm was on the second floor, and there were no elevators in this building. What else? One thing that happened when I was in line flight, I was actually in the old buildings, and we called it Alcatraz, and the new buildings are called Disneyland. I actually did not get put in Disneyland. I got put in Alcatraz, and it wasn't that bad. Honestly, I kind of liked the character that came along with that, and I was in the 322nd Training Squadron. Second to none, come get some. Pride, character, excellence. It was lit. But, okay, what else? Medhold. Okay. So yeah, I wasn't able to do like anything. So when I got to do the stress test, I was actually really excited because I got to run. And I got to like run for a good amount of time, and I was like, yes, exercise. So that happened, and I actually got the results of that right away. They said that it looked completely normal, and as long as everything went okay with my echo, I should be able to go back to training. So I was like, yeah, this is going to be great, blah, blah, blah. I had to wait like another week and a half just to get the results of the echo, and they told me that I have, not only do I have the bradycardia, but they said that that could have been like one of those situations where you have it, but you can actually be completely healthy with bradycardia, because plenty of athletes actually have that. They have a slow heart rate, but it's totally fine. But unfortunately, the results of my echo showed that I have something called mitral valve regurgitation, pulmonic valve regurgitation, and tricuspid valve regurgitation, and they found it like super early, so it's all very slight right now. But the thing is okay, those basically all mean the same thing. It's just different valves in my heart all do this one thing. They don't shut properly, so like instead of shutting all the way, they like shut partially. So it actually pushes blood back into my heart with valves that are only supposed to be pushing blood out of my heart, because you know that there are blood. Like, there's blood that goes into the heart through other valves, but apparently those valves, I don't really know. I'm not a doctor, I don't get it. But long story short, I was told that I have this. It's a heart condition. It's not that serious, but they did say that I'd have to like get checkups on my heart like every 6 months to a year for like pretty much the rest of my life, just to make sure it's like not getting any worse. And like my grandfather actually had the same thing, and he actually passed away from it, so it's kind of a hereditary thing, and it's not that bad right now. Like, honestly, they're saying like I probably don't even need to do anything at all, like no treatment, anything, but they did say it's a disqualifying condition. So I actually, unfortunately, was discharged from the Air Force, and I am not able to re-enlist, and I'm going to have a very hard time trying to enlist into any other branch. So unfortunately, the Air Force is no longer a possibility for me, but it was a great journey while it lasted. I have learned so much from it. I have come a long, long way. while I was in Medhold, I was in 2 separate dorms. So once I found out about that, I was switched from a blue armband dorm, which is the Medhold dorm, to the orange armband dorm, which is the separ dorm, which is separation dorm. So I was in separation status for a few weeks, and I actually got home this past Monday, finally. And I kind of just like was really upset about it, but at the same time, I was like kind of grateful because if I hadn't come to basic training, I never would have found out about this and I never would have learned that there's anything wrong with my heart at all. And I also would not have had the opportunity to meet the people I met and to grow in the way that I have and become a stronger person in the way that I have and become so much more confident. So, I don't see it as a wasted experience at all. I see it as something that I've grown from and because of, and I'm grateful to the Air Force for everything that they have done for me. They actually sent me home on their dime. Like, they didn't make me pay for my own flight home, so that was really cool. What else? Basically, now I'm sort of in a limbo state. I'm back home, and I'm trying to decide what to do. I'm kind of down between a couple options, but I was actually wondering if anyone of you have any suggestions. But what I'm looking at so far right now is being a clinical medical assistant and a esthetician, which is like skincare and makeup, and I would do like facials and like waxing and stuff like that. Or I was looking at cosmetology schools, and another couple options I had audio and video production because I love making videos. And the last option I've come up with for myself so far is to complete a degree I actually started before I left for basic training, which is public safety technology, but I'm just not even sure what I can do with that, considering that I can't do any like super labor intensive jobs now with my heart condition. And I fully intend on still doing YouTube. I just obviously won't be doing many more things with the Air Force unless you guys have any questions. I can do a Q&A video, or I can cover any other topics that you think you'd like me to cover. But basically from here forward, I'm going to keep doing music videos and singing and like songs that I've written, and who knows, like just life. Tomorrow I'm getting my hair done and I'm so excited. I'm going to do like a vlog about that. I could talk about like my status updates with moving forward in life and just life advice videos and anything really. Just going to be a really random channel, and I hope you guys still stay tuned even though it's no longer an Air Force channel. So hopefully this was a good video. Comment down below if you have any questions. And if any of you med holders are watching this, congratulations for either coming home or RTTing, and I wish you all the best of luck. And good luck with the Air Force for any of you guys that are going into the Air Force. And don't let this video scare you. Don't let this think that this happens to everybody. It really doesn't. Just sometimes things happen, and everything happens for a reason. But don't be afraid to join the Air Force if you think that like this is going to happen to you, because most people just graduate, and the fastest way out is just to graduate. So that's it.